Hi, this is Mary from Teacher's Pet Dog Training. I thought we'd spend a little bit of time today talking about bringing home a new puppy. One of the most important things is before a puppy ever enters our home, we want to make sure that we have all of the things ready for the arrival of the puppy. So one of the things would be a crate. And I'm very particular about the type of crate in that I like to use what we call a Petmate Kennel or a Petmate crate, which is a hard plastic crate versus the wiring crates. Wire crates have a place for training, like crate training, but there is a possibility that a puppy can get caught up within the wires with their teeth, or if they panic, they can pry open the sides and compromise the integrity of the crate, leading to injury. Puppies like to be in a den or enclosed secure space, which the plastic crate provides. They're easy to clean and are very secure. I like the Petmate kennel in particular because they're very durable and they make great travel crates as well. I personally like baby gates over puppy gates because they're just more durable. And so you can go to like a Target, Home Depot, and they have baby gates. So they're really nice when guests come over, where you can keep track of a puppy in one spot, and yet your whole house, now people can be moving through your house, but they're not, the puppy can't follow them. So when you're picking a spot where you're going to keep your puppy, one of the important things to think about is I'd like to be able to have an area that I can have my puppy, like tile or hardwood flooring, that if my puppy makes a mistake, I can very easily clean it up. So carpeting, that kind of stuff is not a good spot for your puppy to be spending any time on. I'm going to have my puppy located during the day, especially in an area where I can take them and very quickly get them to either their fresh patch area to use the restroom or to get them outside. You can actually have your X pen with your crate inside of it with your fresh patch, and the puppy could technically go into the crate or use the fresh patch and have an area in which they could be busy with a bone or the everlasting ball or something like that. That would work out really nice. But at night, if your puppy's going to be upstairs, maybe sleeping in a crate next to you, then if you get up in the night, it's really easy. You simply scoop your puppy up, you walk them out to the restroom area, let them use the restroom. When you're done, you pick them back up, take them back to that spot and put them back in their crate. You don't want to have the dog walking all that way, because then that's a long way for your puppy to possibly have to use the restroom. So tips on making sure that you're creating that very clear path. I have my puppy, I'm going to take him out to use the restroom, or here's my puppy, here's the fresh patch, they can use the restroom, because that's something that's going to be done a lot in puppyhood, and we want to really try to get that down as best as we can, because as the puppy gets older, remember, they will be able to hold it longer, and if they really understand the pattern of using the restroom and where to use it, you're going to have a lot less, it'll be a much smoother transition into your potty training piece. You want to figure out what area is the puppy going to be going to the restroom. So if you have a yard, a clean yard, and what I mean by a clean yard is a bunch of dogs aren't coming by and using it as a restroom that you don't know. So we want to make sure that we have an area where we can frequent the puppy to go to the restroom. So if you don't have access to that while the puppy is going through that period of time where they're getting their shots to keep them safe, then what I would recommend is getting a patch of grass. It's called Fresh Patch. You can actually order it online, and they will deliver this patch of grass for you that has a container underneath it, and the puppy from day one can start to learn to use the grass as a restroom area. I'm not a giant fan of puppy pads, the little pee-pee pads, because what I find is two things. Number one, a lot of times the dogs just chew them up, and then it could become a choking hazard. And number two, a lot of times then the puppies have a hard time between, is that puppy pad a carpet, or is that a rug, or is that anything else in the house that you would prefer them not to soil? It can create confusion. So I try to steer people away from the puppy pads and more towards getting the fresh grass. You could even go to like Home Depot and buy some sod and then have that underneath a plastic, like a rubber liner underneath, You could even put the puppy pads underneath there and then stick the grass on the top. But we want to have that as an area where the puppy gets to frequent to go to the restroom. And you could have both of those things. So you could have a patch of grass inside an area of the house for the puppy to go to the bathroom on, and you could have an area where the puppy goes outside and gets access to going to the restroom. They're going to be putting their teeth on all kinds of stuff. Our skin, our hair, our shoelaces, our clothing, our pajamas, you name it, they're going to start putting their teeth on it. So a really important thing you want to have is a form of a toy. What I do is I take a little non-stuffing toy, like a little mallard, and I put a little piece of rope around the end of it, and I have a couple of those, and those go everywhere with me. So now I have a little drag toy for the puppy to put their teeth on something instead of on my clothing. And we call this a redirect. So if the puppy is thinking about putting their teeth on my button, then I'm going to make sure that I have this toy and I can redirect the puppy's energy into chewing or putting his mouth or her mouth on the correct thing. And then I put a little energy on that by moving it around a little bit with the puppy, and now I create this interaction between myself and the puppy is now putting their teeth on the right stuff. And puppies will change their mind and go in different directions very, very quickly. So it's important that you have something like that with you at all times so that you can redirect the puppy's mouth onto the right stuff. So those are called redirection toys. Then there's a type of toy that you want to have that might be something if the puppy is inside a playpen or inside of a crate. So you might use a bully stick. So that's something that the puppy can chew on while they're inside of a crate or inside of an X pen. Another key thing you could do is you can get something called an everlasting ball, and that is a soft rubber toy that has an edible plug on one end, and on the other side you could put a little bit of Libby's pumpkin or a little bit of cream cheese or a little bit of peanut butter and put that in the freezer and let it harden up a little bit, and then that acts as a nice little licking. It's like having a lollipop for your puppy. Versus a Kong. I'm not a giant fan of Kongs because what I find with a Kong is we stuff stuff in there, and a lot of times puppies lose interest in it relatively quickly. Some dogs like them, but I see more puppies that are not as interested in it as if we got an everlasting ball, and then you have the plug on one side that's an edible plug that they can lick, and on the other side you can add different types of things that you can allow them to dive into. Is the puppy's going to end up having probably a little bit of wet food and a little bit of dry food for what they're going to be eating. You can mush that up and put it in like a pate on the everlasting ball, put that in the refrigerator or freezer and pull that out for the puppy, and now the puppy it's going to take the puppy some time to actually eat their meal, but it'll keep their brain and their mouth focused on an activity while they're getting their calories. So instead of them just quickly eating their food out of a bowl and then, now what am I going to do? This will allow more time for them to be engaged within this toy. Let's talk about an X pen. An X pen is it's basically a metal fence that you can set up, and if you are supervising the puppy, that means I am in the same room watching the puppy, you can allow the puppy to be in this X pen on a bully stick or on an everlasting chew, something, or everlasting ball that you've prepared, and the puppy could be laying in there and enjoying that under supervision. So an X pen allows the puppy to be out of the crate but in a contained area. You can get it anywhere from 1 to 4 feet. So I recommend at least 3 feet, if not 4 feet, just to make sure that you've created a containment area that will probably keep your puppy in there safely. But remember, anytime you're using an X pen, it's under your supervision. So that's super important. I would not go to the grocery store with my puppy in an X pen. When you set up an X pen, make sure that if you're going to let the puppy in or out, that you open the door and let the puppy take the puppy out and open the door and put the puppy back in. If you lean over the fence, the X pen, and you pick the puppy up, back and forth, up and out of the top of the X pen, the puppy, many puppies will figure out, I know how to get out, I climb over. And once a puppy realizes they can climb over an X pen, you can't use them anymore. So let's talk a little bit about bedding. So some puppies like to have a little soft towel in there or a little cushion. You know, you can actually buy these special little inserts for the actual crate itself. Some dogs really like them, some dogs really don't. So what I tend to do is I'll just take something like a towel, and I'll make the towel in half, and I'll put in half the crate, I'll have just the plastic, and then half the crate I'll have the towel. And then the puppy has a choice of whether or not they want to sleep on something that's soft or whether they want to sleep on something that's just a little bit, they get warm. Some puppies get too warm and they need that cool area to lay in. Another thing that I recommend that you can put inside the crate to give the puppy some comfort is it's called a Smart Pet Love Snuggle Puppy. And what this is, it's a toy, a stuffed animal that you get, and it actually has a heartbeat. So you open the Velcro up and you pull the little heart out and you press it, and you'll actually feel the heartbeat. That goes back inside the little stuffed puppy, and it closes off with Velcro, and now you can put that in with the puppy to lay in the crate. And a lot of puppies find that the sound of that heartbeat and that little puppy, they find that very comforting. So I like having those for puppies to get used to being in a new environment and sleeping in their crate. So that's something that I would recommend for you to get for your puppy. When your puppy is maybe with you and you want to hang out with your puppy, just having a little puppy bed where your puppy could, like if you're sitting at the kitchen and you have your little drag line and you have your puppy there and your puppy's willing to hang out with you right there, and you have a little bed that your puppy can lay on, you could have like just a little puppy bed. That's okay because you're able to supervise them. You have your leash. So having like a little puppy bed is also kind of a nice thing if your puppy is going to go in a particular room with you and you want to have them there as well. Another really important thing for training supplies is you want to make sure that your puppy has a harness. And a harness is a little piece of cloth that goes over their chest area and that can either clip on or Velcro on. And then it has a little clip that you can put a leash on. And it's important with puppies that we are using a harness because this is allowing the puppy to move around freely without something on their neck. If we clip on a leash onto their neck and they're dragging us all over the place, they're putting a lot of pressure on their trachea, and they can start becoming desensitized to having the pressure from the collar and the leash. One thing I wanted to mention is whenever you are not supervising your puppy, anything you have on your puppy should be taken off. So for example, even a flat collar, harnesses, leashes, any of that stuff, if you're not watching your puppy, those things should be taken off for two reasons. Number one, they can become a choking hazard. If the dog chews on something and swallows it, the dog can choke on it. And number two, the puppy could get caught up on something, whether it be the collar or the harness or a leash or whatever. They can get caught up on things and then it could become dangerous. So it's important, if not supervising them, the stuff comes off, and then you can put the stuff back on when you're going to go out with your puppy. Another thing that I recommend with the use of a harness, I like what we call a drag leash. I'll take a leash and I'll cut the handle off the leash. That way the handle doesn't get caught up on something. And now as the puppy's moving around, if you need to stop the puppy, you don't have to try to grab the puppy where the puppy might become afraid or might become nippy because you're grabbing. I simply have the leash. I can pick up the leash. So if my puppy comes over and starts jumping up on me, I can simply grab the leash and redirect my puppy off of me safely with my leash. And so that way I'm not grabbing my puppy or trying to grab them and they're wiggling around, or I start to grab and now my puppy wants to put their teeth on me. So having that little drag leash is really helpful in that you're not using your hands to try to grab your puppy. You're simply taking the leash and you're redirecting the puppy. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about puppy proofing. So what I mean by puppy proofing is, number one, we've already talked about, we don't let the puppy have access to the whole house because the puppy will make a lot of mistakes. So puppy proofing might be putting plastic, the little plastic covers on the outlets so the puppy doesn't by accident get a tooth or something in the outlet. If you have any type of cords for the computer or anything that you would have plugged in that would go on, you know, where a puppy is on the floor, all of those types of things, those all need to be either put up or the puppy doesn't have access to those things. The puppy is going to do everything in his or her power to be the best little puppy he can, or her, and it's important that we do the same back for our puppy. It's important that you are training your puppy, that you're educating your puppy, that also you're educating yourself. So having a puppy, we may not remember what it's like to have a puppy if you had one a long time ago, or maybe this is your very first puppy. So getting someone to help guide you through that process of learning is super important. So know that I'm here to help, and you can check out my website at www.teacherspet.biz. We have a very thorough website, we have a Facebook page, we have a YouTube channel, and there's all kinds of different videos on there that'll kind of help give you some guidance. And then please feel free to contact me with any training questions you might have, or if you would like to set up some sessions to really get things started on the right foot. Your puppy will love you for it, and you will just love this process once you get started. You only get puppyhood once.
Right? Yeah, it's true.
You only get it once, so I always say, if you can make puppyhood really count the very first time, that's a big win.